My Hero Academia Season 2, Episode 31, The Aftermath of Hero Killer Stain. What is going on, party people? Fmincho here, back at it once again with another My Hero Academia review. Today we're talking about Episode 31. This was a very interesting episode. Now, I originally recorded a reaction to this, but decided not to upload that because it wasn't a very hype episode. A lot of stuff was happening, a lot of seeds were planted. This was much more of a world building, character building type of episode, so I decided not to upload that. It would have taken like 2 to 3 hours, and I decided to do away with it and just talk more about this episode because, again, there's a lot of interesting things happening. First things first with the police force. I gotta get this out of the way. The police chief is a dog? I mean, woof, come on, this guy looks amazing. He's got this huge snout, he's incredible. Probably one of my favorite designed heroes in this entire I'm of course kidding, but still, he's really, really cool. He comes into the hospital room, and basically, Todoroki, Deku, and of course Ida are in trouble because they were using their quirks for their own intent, and basically they had to sacrifice their fame for, so they don't get in trouble, so they don't get busted. And I thought that was really interesting. I think that puts the characters in a really interesting place, and for them to do that without hesitation, I thought was really cool as well. Todoroki was very pissed, and I totally get it, because even the police chief himself mentions that this is a very unfair law, and that's why I'm letting you guys off the hook. I'm letting you guys do this and giving you an option. But Todoroki is just extremely pissed about this because he wasn't there to use his quirk for any personal reasons. He was there to protect his friends. He knew that something was wrong with Deku. Deku was there because he wanted to aid his friend Ida. So it doesn't really make sense for them to get in trouble. And then there's guilt that Ida feels for that because Ida technically got them in trouble, or at least he feels that way. So he's feeling guilt. And then Deku, of course, is feeling guilt as well for letting Ida go, back at that train station and not being there for him more. So there's a lot of interesting things happening there between those three characters. I just think that's really, really interesting. I think they have something there. I think they're going to build upon more of that kind of back and forth between those characters. And even Ida saying, I don't want them to do the surgery on my arm because his arm is really screwed up and it has permanent damage. For him just to say, I don't want them to fix this arm until I'm a true hero and I deserve to use it. I thought that was really interesting, and Deku, kind of furthering that was awesome. I thought that was a good character moment between those two characters. Now, there's a lot of other interesting things that are happening. First things first, let me just mention these two characters that it kind of flashes to in this episode. I'm not talking about those gangsters, in that bar that are like, I guess they're like gun runners technically for like other hero equipment and stuff. Not those scrubs. Those guys are terrible. Get them out of here. I'm talking about these two characters that I kept seeing in this episode. One is this dude that has like spiky hair, and he has this kind of like this stitching that goes across his mouth all the way to the sides of his face, and has like a messed up eye as well. He looks really, really cool, and they kind of flash to him. They see him walking through this alleyway, and then they show this girl with like earphones on and blonde pigtails, and there's like a blood splatter on the wall. These are villains clearly, but I guess these are going to be the new villains in the series because they kept kind of flashing to them. I don't think they're just some scrubby characters that are just random. I think that they do have a purpose in the series, and I think their character design is really, really cool. It's cool to see a very young villain, which I was going to say, they're very similar to kind of the way that the heroes look, in UA and everything. So that's interesting. I think that's really, really interesting to have those characters there in this episode. Kind of, I'm sure manga fans are like, of course, now it's time to start showing these characters. I'm sure all the manga readers are thinking that, and I'm excited to see what these guys are. I mean, they look really, really cool. One of my favorite parts about My Hero Academia is the character design of everybody. I love everyone's design in this series. I love Hero Killer Stain's design. I love how there's like Hero Killer Stain followers now. There was even one dude who even like dressed the same as him. I thought that was really cool. But it looks like that these characters kind of have, they're similar to that movement that Hero Killer Stain started, and that's what this episode is all about. It's about the aftermath and what is going on with the heroes and what is going on with the villains. So during this episode, there's a phone call between Gran Torino and All Might, and Gran Torino mentions that there is this person named the All For One. His name is All For One, and I guess he has the ability to give quirks to others, and I guess that he apparently is the leader of the League of Villains. Now, I might be you know, that might be a kind of a broader statement there. I'm not 100% sure. That's just my prediction. But the way All Might feels towards this person, you know, he's absolutely pissed that he survived some injury. Apparently he's the one that put the hole in his stomach, which I think is kind of interesting because he mentioned that it was a villain named Toxic Chainsaw, I believe, in the first season. I don't know if Toxic Chainsaw and All For One are similar or the same person, or I don't know if those injuries are the exact same thing. Maybe, you know, I'm pretty sure it was like on his chest or on his stomach. I'll have to kind of backtrack a little bit. Comment down below if you have an exact answer to that, because I'm curious if Toxic Chainsaw and All For One are the same person. Did they both damage him to the point where he couldn't use the One For All, you know, to its full capacity? Are these the same people or are they different? Just yes or no. I don't want anything spoiled or anything. I always wondered if they were going to go back to that and explain what really happened there, because I feel like there's more there. And even Gran Torino mentions that you need to explain all this to Deku. Deku needs to understand the One For All and everything that happened, because they mentioned that All For One also killed one of their friends and All Might's master, Shimura. And there's history there with the All For One, he's a person, with All For One and All Might. There's something happening there. There's definitely feuding there, because, you know, of course he took out his master, damaged him, and I don't know, I really, really like what's going on there. That's sounding like main villain kind of stuff, though. I don't think we're gonna see All For One this season. I mean, maybe we might get a glimpse of him towards the end just as a tease, but I'm starting to think that All For One is really kind of the main villain of this entire series. I could be wrong. In the manga, he could already be defeated and everything, and they're tackling other things. I don't quite know, but that is one of my favorite parts about this episode, was them Gran Torino explaining that basically Hero Killer Stain started this movement, and his affiliation with the League is now everyone thinks that the League has the same ideologies as Hero Killer Stain, and in a way they kind of do, I guess. But now all of these villains from around Japan are coming in to the League to be a part of this ideology. And I mentioned before, I believe in the previous episode and probably the one before that as well, in one of my reviews, I mentioned that I love Hero Killer Stain's ideology. It makes sense to me. I get it from his perspective. It's demented and disgusting, but it makes sense. And I think that's what makes, the best villains, is when you understand where they're coming from. You're like, oh my god, yeah, I get you. Like, maybe not to that extent, but I don't know why I said it like that, but I definitely feel for him. I definitely understand what he's trying to do and why he's trying to do it, because there's definitely fakes out there. There's definitely these heroes that are just doing it for the fame, and he knew right away that Deku wasn't that type of hero, and that's when I knew, like, when I was thinking, like, why would he fight Deku? I mean, Deku is like one of the most heroic types of characters in this entire series, so why would Hero Killer Stain try to kill him? But he didn't. He just wanted to get him out of the way. He had no intention on killing Deku. He had all the chances in the world to do so. He didn't, because Deku is not a faker. Deku wasn't there. He knew, because Deku stood in for Ida and everything, and he wanted to save people, and Ida was just there for vengeance, like a lot of heroes are. They're all using these quirks as a way to make money, which, again, I get as well. So there's so many different ideologies being passed through this series, but for Stain's ideology to pass down to all the scrub villains, around the city and everything, now we have a very interesting thing at play here, because, again, his affiliation with the League makes everyone think that the League has the same ideology, and I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm guessing that, the girl with the pigtails and the guy with the, scar across his mouth and everything, I'm guessing that they have something to do with that movement, and they are going to end up joining the League of Villains. And I don't know, the League of Villains, it's only like 3 people. What is it? It's Kurogiri, is that his name? Kurogiri, and Shigaraki. That's it. and the guy behind the screen, which I think is All For One, but I could be wrong there. So yeah, I guess they're gonna get more recruitments and everything, which I think is pretty cool. I'm excited to see more villains in this series. I'm excited to connect to more villains. Shigaraki, he's not my favorite villain in the show. He's kind of a whiny kind of character, so I would like to see more stronger villains. I think that's why I loved Stain so much, because he was just such a force. Probably one of my favorite villains. He is my favorite villain in the series, without a doubt, but I just really, really like him. I think he stands pretty high up there with other shonen villains in other series as well. I don't think we've seen the last of him, though. I mentioned that before in my last review as well. I think that there's more to this character than just setting up this ideology. I think that he will eventually escape, maybe even have like a following of people that you know, have the similar views, break him out or something along those lines. I think that they could also do that, and I think that would be really cool. All in all, this was it's a very slow episode. It's a slower episode. It's filled with some comedy bits here and there, and it was really funny, and there were a lot of interesting things happening. But the meat of it really is there with the ideology of Stan, the League of Villains, and how All Might and Gran Torino feel towards that, and you know, the death of Shimura and All For One. That is the meat of the episode for sure, and I really appreciated that aspect to it. So I'm going to give this episode an 8 out of 10. I thought that the passing of information was very well done. It didn't feel forced. I thought it felt natural in this episode, even though it was a slower episode. I am okay with that. Next week's episode is an anime original episode. It's talking about, you know, Suyu and everything, what's going on with her. It's going to talk about everyone during the during their internships and everything. So I'm guessing that this is kind of like another break episode. It's the end of the Hero Killer Stain arc, so they're probably going to go into the next arc after this episode, which again, I'm okay with. It looks like it's going to be a very comedy-filled episode, and I'm fine with that. I really am. I'm fine. I'm excited to watch it, actually. You know, who knows what'll happen. They'll probably drop something in there towards the end that teases towards the next episode, and maybe teases towards the other characters that are joining the League of Villains. I think that is pretty much it for me. Comment down below. Give me your thoughts on this week's episode of My Hero Academia. What do you think of the ideology between Hero Killer Stain and the League of Villains and everyone that's kind of joining the League of Villains? Do you think that something's going to go wrong there? Do you think that this is just the right progression for the League? And do you think that the League and Stain knew that this was going to happen? Because in the beginning of the episode, Shigaraki mentions that let's just wait until tomorrow and then we'll see if we failed or not. I'm curious what he meant by that, because I remember Kurogiri, I believe that's his name, said, like, did we lose? Like, do you feel like, are you satisfied with your results? And then he said, let's just wait till tomorrow. So I'm curious if this is what he meant of how, you know, the news and the media would take these attacks and everything. So comment down below, give me your thoughts on that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new here, and if you want more reviews, more anime related content, more gaming related content, I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, again, thank you for watching. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye bye.